Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Happy holidays, everyone. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm your host today, Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, here for the Listening Mentor program. We have not had a program for Listening Mentor in just about 2 months, so welcome back. We're thrilled to have you here. Joining me is the star of our show. Her name is Caroline.heward, and she is located in the United Kingdom. She is known for her ability to help people bust their stress. She's also a resident therapist, and she is the host of A Woman's Prerogative, which there are 2 episodes on Mondays, and she's also one of our expert presenters on Talking Heads. I'm talking, of course, about Caroline.heward. Let's welcome her to our show today. We're going to talk all about communication during crisis. Welcome, Caroline. Good to see you.
Woohoo! Thank you very much. What a long introduction. I've forgotten how many things I do. Thank you, Dr. JACALYN.
Yes, you are most welcome. So it's a pleasure to have you here today, especially during the festive holiday season. And the topic about crisis communication really could be related to almost anything. I feel like since I moved a month ago tomorrow, I've had nothing but a crisis every day, which I'm always looking for solutions. So I think that could be one of the outcomes as well. What is the solution? But before we get into the topic, tell us a little bit about your work helping people bust their stress.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Well, I help people break through the patterns that create their everyday stress. So if you're a person that says, I'm not stressed, and you're walking around saying that you're not sleeping very well, or you've got a physical ache and pain that you constantly have, like a migraine or a headache, or low back pain or neck pain, this is how stress is manifesting in your life. And I help break through the pattern, the repeat pattern that creates your cycle of stress, however it's manifesting, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or behavioral, in your relationships, or in your family, in your friendships, or in the things in your life that you do. I also help people move from a place of stress, anxiety, and depression to a place of inner peace, so their world calms and however their stress is manifesting clears, so they have an incredible night's sleep. And the other thing that I've been recently doing, and I'm very proud to say that I've been educating, training in large rooms in corporate to help them understand, have insights, awareness, understanding of different topics that create stress, which means that when you have insight, awareness, and understanding, then you can solve what's not working. And I'm very proud to be doing a series of online lunch and learn workshops for a couple of corporates, and this is where I'm moving the business into 2025 and beyond.
Congratulations, Caroline. That is super. And you've been here for over 3 years now, and I've seen incredible transformation. You were already extremely accomplished, extremely professional, and you've taken it to a whole nother level. So super proud of you, and congratulations to you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. You've earned it. So let's get into our topic today, which is actually interesting because my background was selling meetings and events. And so for large organizations that are having national sales meeting, incentive travel trip, and there always had to be some kind of plan in place, which we would call disaster recovery. So you have an outdoor venue and some major storm is coming. So we would always encourage our clients that we need to have a plan A, B, and C. And I think that's how life is as well. I know when I retired from corporate, I had a plan, and the plan didn't include COVID. So there's always things that come up in our life, whether they're big or small, and having a plan sometimes can really be beneficial. But let's talk about, from a therapist's perspective, what is a crisis? If someone calls you and they're like, I'm having a crisis right now, that could mean I broke my nail and I'm perceiving it as a crisis, to actually, world-related events that are a crisis. But let's hear from your perspective.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. A crisis is whatever it is for you. If you're having what I would call a meltdown and you can't think, focus, or do anything, where you literally stop and can't move forward because you're in this emotional turmoil. And like you just mentioned, Dr. JACALYN, broken nail for some people might be a crisis, especially if they're going to a big event or they're a fashion model and they've just broken a nail and they're just about to go on stage. That would be awful for them. So there's no judgment on what a crisis is, in inverted commas, means to individuals as well as the global community. And when I think of crisis, I think of immediately the world things like floods, the weather, the transportation, things that happen in the world, such as when our world shut down in March 2020. But then there's also crisis in terms of moving home. Are you going to move? Aren't you going to move? I remember having quite a nightmare not being sure of when I was going to be moving, when I was selling, because different things kept coming up that had to be resolved before we could actually sign on the dotted line. And so it's dependent on who you are and how you're approaching it, and how you're responding and reacting to the situation. There could be a family sickness where it causes a complete meltdown in the family, so that the family can't function and nothing gets done and nothing gets resolved. And there's generally one person that kind of picks up the pieces and makes things happen and goes forward. So I feel that when you are in a crisis experience, however that is for you, whether it's global, local, whether it's personal, or whether it's community, regional, national, it doesn't matter. It's about the fact of how you respond to it, because there can be a global crisis where it's happening in the world and it's not happening to you, so you don't respond or react to it. And I remember when there was the crisis of the weather in Florida, it kept me awake, because I have, both yourself, Dr. JACALYN, and other friends that I've trained with in Florida, and I was very worried about them. And I joined global prayer meetings and meditations to make sure that I did my part to make sure that things calmed down. And it really did affect me, because there were people that I knew and I wanted to make sure that everybody was okay. So even though I wasn't in it, I still had a reaction and I was affected by it. And all I wanted to make sure was everybody that I knew that was in Florida was safe. And so I did reach out, and that might sound a little bit over the top. And at the same time, it mattered to me. And so it became my personal crisis that I wanted to make sure that others that I knew well were okay.
That's beautiful, Caroline. Thank you so much for your kindness and your compassion and empathy. I think that's what the world really needs right now. So I just want to share also to what you just shared. Sometimes we become highly emotionally charged about things. And I'll give you an example. So I mentioned I don't have heat, and I haven't had heat in the bedrooms or bathrooms since November 20th. And in sharing that with other people, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? So I followed a plan. And I hired an attorney and took the steps that I needed to take. But I have been a lady through the whole thing. And some people would not react the same way. You've paid for it, you've earned. Yes, I'm aware of all those things, but it's out of my control. So that gives me peace, knowing that I'm in control of myself. And I think that when we are prepared, for example, there's just been horrific fires. I think they're Franklin fires in California. And we have one of our team members who's in California, and she has a go bag and a no go bag. So if she's at home and not able to get out, she has everything that she feels she needs for a certain period of time. And if she would have to leave, she's got the go bag. So as horrible as it would be to have that situation, she feels safe in some ways because she's prepared to the best of her ability. So I'd love for you to talk, and again, there's no script here, I'm just giving you questions out of the air. I'd love for you to talk about what it means to mentally prepare yourself for the unknown. So you don't know what's going to happen. How could you possibly be prepared? What does that have to do with your frame of mind and your mindset, please?
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. That's an excellent question, and one that is generally asked for when people do fall apart. Well, how are you coping? And it is definitely moving into a considered mindset of going into practical rather than going into emotion. Because when you go straight into the emotions of upset, sadness, or anger even, nothing gets resolved. And if you go straight into anger and you're looking to resolve something with another party that hasn't given you what that you should have, for instance, and we're going to take the example of your heating, I would internally be hopping up and down and be really angry, but that doesn't solve anything. And so the only way to solve that is to go to relevant people that can help you, because being angry about something that you're in terms of experiencing, but you can't control it, doesn't change the outcome. So if you are calm and you approach the relevant organizations, and indeed you've shared that you have contacted the legal profession for their support and their guidance in resolving the problem, that's what I would do. I would be practical and look externally at what could be done. If I was speaking to the people that were supplying the service and not supplying the service, I would then get very practical with them and calm. And I've been totally impressed with the fact that when I have been in a place of sheer angst and angriness at something not being sorted, that I've got this ability, and I highly recommend moving into this ability of being calm and being rational. Because when you are calm and you are rational, more gets sorted quickly. And it doesn't stop you feeling angry inside or sad or bitter, but that doesn't move you forward in terms of resolving the issue. Moving forward in terms of moving into the issue being resolved, it takes dedication of making sure that the emotions are down, right down, and you move into your practical, logical head to have decent and proper conversations. And so that in that space, you are much more approachable and you are much more akin to get a result that you need. And especially at this time of year in particular, when things are not right. So for instance, if a boiler breaks down, and your example of having no heat, that would be the same in England. If we had no boiler, there'd be no heat or hot water. And I would consider that a complete crisis of not having heat or hot water, because you can't live without heat and hot water. And that would be a total meltdown crisis for me. But what I've got is insurances that cover those things, which means that they come out within 24 to 48 hours to resolve it. And I make sure that I have the plans in place so that I have inner peace. But the big thing here that I want to share is being calm, being in a place of resolution rather than focused on the catastrophe and focused on the crisis. Be focused on what you want out of it to begin with, and express that to the people that you are communicating with so that they can help you get a resolution that's good for you and good for them.
I love everything you just shared there. It's having a plan, and it's how you show up when the actual event takes place. So I'll give an example. Where I live, there's a parking garage. I have a reserved spot, and I'm next to someone. There's 2 columns and then space for 2 cars. And the person in the space next to me they've been there before me, obviously, but they're over on my side. So when I pulled in last week, I ended up scratching the side of my car on the passenger side because I couldn't see that there wasn't enough space because she was on my side. So I ended up getting out and looking at it, and then I pulled my car in, and lo and behold, she was actually in her car with the motor off, and she got out of the car, and I thought, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to say something. And then I realized it's my fault. I'm the one driving the car. So I'm the one who's responsible for doing this. Now, could I have gone over and said, would you mind in the future, could you pull your car over a little bit? But having seen that the space was going to be tight, maybe I could have taken a different approach. So I said to myself in that moment, when I wanted to say something or yell or get upset because I'm thinking, now this is going to cost money, I thought, what is the solution? The solution is to get a different parking space. So I contacted the management and I said, I want to be where the column is on the right side of me, because this way I can really see it, and then get the car fixed. And that's what I did. And I felt really proud of myself that I didn't lose control. I didn't beat myself up. It was a mistake, and I'm not going to blame it on anyone else. So I came up with a way to control myself, and then I came up with a plan, and I executed the plan, and the car got repaired yesterday.
That's really cool. I love that. And it's at the point where, when you were expressing, that you scratched your car, I was, oh no. And I would have felt the same. I've never driven because I lived in London for so long. You don't need a car when you're in London. And then when I moved here, I moved here only recently where I do need a car, and I'm sort of feeling that I don't want to do it now. It's been too long without one. But if that happened to me, I would be really emotional. So I really get that it takes a lot of courage and commitment to keep the emotions down, even if you feel them. And this makes me think about road rage. I don't know whether you've ever heard of it. In England, we have something called road rage, where somebody might overtake you, or they'll cut you up, or that something will happen on the road. And then road rage is when the person that's been overtaken or cut up, or something's happened to them, they will really get angry and they will start tearing down the motorway or wherever they are driving to chase the other person and really give them a good yelling at and be really nasty to them. And it's a way to get rid of the aggression or the anger. But my feeling is that road rage is something that's come out of that there's an anger somewhere else that they're upset or offended about. They haven't expressed it. And so it's come out when they're driving in road rage. Do you have anything like that, Dr. JACALYN? Have you heard that term before in America?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a movie by Russell Crowe. He stars in it. I don't remember what the title of it is, but he's in a truck and he's actually cut off by someone. And it turns from basic road rage that you witness to something unspeakable. I can't even go into it at the moment. It's a very interesting movie. So yes, but that again is where people lose control. You could be sitting at a traffic light and the light turns green and you're 1 second delay from hitting the gas pedal, and all of a sudden beep, 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 beep. It's just, so I just give them the, move around, go, if you don't like it, just go around, but I'm not going to get myself upset. And I really feel that in terms of living through various crises, I feel like if you have some kind of strength mentally, where you've been through a number of things in your life, more things are coming, because that's just how life is. And the question is, how are you going to show up? So I shared this last night. I taught setting boundaries and asking permission course. And I just shared that when something happens, I will give myself 10 minutes to be upset about it. and then I have to move on. But I also will isolate myself from speaking with people because I don't have that, yay, everything's great and I'm happy, because I don't want to put it on someone else. So I set a boundary that this is my own internal thing that I need to deal with, and I will deal with it, but I'm not going to pass it on to someone else and ruin their day. What are your thoughts about people embracing that as a possible technique to deal with things?
It's really, really good. And I love it, Dr. JACALYN. I love the fact that you take the space, because that's what I do when there's something that's not right, or if I'm angry or upset about something, because I live alone, it's much easier to not engage with somebody and to take that silent space. But then sometimes you might get a phone call and somebody might say, how are you? And then it might just spill out. And so I'm quite careful, and I'm human and you're human. And it doesn't mean that we don't experience life, and, we're not perfect. And we learn from the fact that, if we've shared everything in an hour, how we feel at the end of it, that we just don't feel any better. Sometimes it's better to almost keep your own counsel, as I would express, and move into a place of inner calm inside. And the other thing, that when you speak to somebody and tell them and everything comes out, there is an expression of a problem shared as a problem halved, but also there's also the other side of that is the person that you are telling everything to. Are they open to listen? Do they really want to hear what you have to say? Are they in a position to want to hear it? And maybe they're just not interested, and maybe they don't care about you enough to want to hear it. So it is about choosing, if you do want to express or unpack, or describe, or just sit and talk to somebody and have somebody as a sounding board, that they really are there for you, because you might think you have somebody that's a sounding board that isn't really there for you at all. So if you do need a sounding board, especially if you're in a crisis, to feel different and feel better, to be very mindful about who you choose. And I've certainly come up a little bit of a cropper myself by thinking that I could share when I wasn't feeling so great and they weren't really there for me. So I'm extremely careful about, when there are challenges, who I do share things with, because it's quite surprising how many people will have a judgment, have an opinion, and then they put all of their stuff onto you as to what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and how you should feel and how you shouldn't be feeling. And it's kind of, it's counteractive to you simply allowing yourself to be able to be open, to express without feeling a judgment. So there is two sides to that coin. And sometimes you might be in a position where you do need a sounding board just to say. And at those times, choose the person that you express as your sounding board to, that they are open for you to be in that place, because they might not be open and they might not care about you enough to give you that space.
Absolutely brilliant, Caroline. Thank you. And I think that also is in alignment with asking permission. Would now be a good time to speak to you about XYZ? Do you have 15 minutes to listen? I just need someone to listen. Could that be you? And I think when we do that, that kind of sets the stage. But I know in my own life, and maybe you have this as well, maybe people out there watching or listening, you get to know people in your life, and you know their personalities, and you know that they have certain hot buttons. And certain people, their hot button is money, and they like to talk about money, or they want to tell you how much money you should be making, or they want to evaluate. So when something comes up for me, I stay away from those people, because I know they're going to provide a solution that they think is relevant, even though I didn't ask for one, but it's always going to be about money. And I think other people, they have something about your time, the amount of time you spend doing something versus the amount of time you could be doing something else. And that's their immediate go-to. So I really try to work through things myself, because I know if I reach out, I'm going to be getting a judgmental answer or a problem-solving answer when I didn't ask for someone to solve the problem. And I think it would be a good time to talk about, with the holidays, there are going to be many people gathering together at dinners, at homes, etc. And you add in a little alcohol, or you add in a football game or a soccer or something, and people, their guard goes down and they start to say things or share perspectives or let you know they don't like this about you, or why are you wearing that today? Or so how can people plan ahead to avert what could become a family crisis during the holiday get-togethers?
That's just so pertinent right now, Dr. JACALYN. And it is a hot button topic, I would name it, that especially if you're with family, people that you're very close to, that you will all know each other's hot buttons to press and what are the subjects to stay away from. And certainly I know that there are some family members that will just go in there and prod the sore spot and want a debate when they know that it's going to cause some friction. And it's important to know that that can happen, especially, as you mentioned, Dr. JACALYN, when guards are down, when there's a bit of alcohol there, or there's other recreational substances, because let's be honest, we're all not clean living, and there are some people that will be under the influence of recreational substances apart from alcohol, and that the sensitivities are relaxed, and you become much more open in terms of what you say. And my advice here, and it's really an invitation, is to know if they are pressing your buttons, to, if you can, and it does require you to be in a space of control, to not respond in terms of the heated debate. I call it the tennis match. They say something, you say something, they say something, you say something, and then it gets bigger and bigger. Or one person raises their voice, the other person raises it higher, and the other person raises their voice, and it's like a competition. And when you get into that position, nobody wins, nobody feels safe. And there has to be, in that situation, a win-lose. And nobody wins anything. And so at the time of meeting up, especially in the festive season, Christmas and the holidays, is to be mindful about how you're responding and reacting. And if they are touching your soft buttons, your hot buttons, is to choose to pause and to not react, so that you don't land up in that tennis match. I know it's difficult, especially when our boundaries are dropped and we're more relaxed and we're with family, but family are just as important. There's something that I share with my mum quite regularly, and that is that how anybody is in a family situation is how they are in their external world. So if there is a debate, or if there's like sort of a response mechanism, that they will be doing the same outside in the wider community and the wider world as they are responding in terms of the family. So you don't just suddenly change and become someone different when you're in your external world, in your internal world, in terms of being with your family and close loved ones, that you won't be different, you'll be the same. And so if there is anything there, it would be really nice to show them love and to give them compassion and to listen actively, and to listen being very present rather than being distracted on your phone or doing something else. Because sometimes some people will press your buttons or say things for attention, or they might say things to get your energy. They may pick a fight so they can steal your energy. So be mindful of that, especially if there's a regular family member or a loved one that shares your family time, especially around this Christmas time, this festive season, that if there is somebody that is picking a fight, let's say, let's use that cliche, or wanting to play the comeuppance and make you feel small, is to show them compassion and give them your attention and give them your compassion. Because when you do that, when you're not rising to the bait and when you're not raring for the fight, you'll be surprised how that diffuses the conflict situation, and that moves them into a place of the conflict or the frustration that both of you are feeling to dissolve. So that's my invitation to you, is to be there 100% for them. The only time that I would think that this kind of thing arises is when they don't feel listened to. So give them the power of your compassion and give them 100% of you rather than distracted you if you're on your phone or doing something else. Because when somebody doesn't feel listened to, this is when the hot buttons can be pressed.
I'm sure there are a lot of people out there nodding their heads saying, yes, I know exactly what you're thinking, what you're speaking about. There's something else I'd love to have you talk about, because I've actually witnessed this over the years, different functions, events, where you have a group of people who are together and one person decides to throw barbs, if you will, at another person, maybe challenge them, push their buttons, etc. And the second person says, you know what, I've had enough of this. And they literally go into another room. And then several of the people at the table will go into the other room to try to console the second person. And then you have people talking to the first person. Now you have like two camps of people. So the whole event, the whole dinner has been disrupted. And the person who actually got up from the table and walked away, maybe it wasn't the best thing to go surround that person, maybe give people space to process things. So that's what I'd like to have you address. It's some people, me specifically, I like to be able to process, and I don't want people coming up to me, oh, no, I'm dealing with it. Thank you. Appreciate your concern. But how do we make sure that we don't have this decisiveness or two camps of people at a function because now they're taking sides?
Taking sides, what an interesting concept. And this is this is our humanness, isn't it? And I can cite an example of the herd, and I can't think of their names now. That there was two people, a famous celebrity couple, and they were in a fight in terms of going through a divorce, and they were basically sharing everything was public, and what they were doing was getting people to choose a side. You know, is it Johnny Depp? That's it, Johnny Depp and his wife, now ex-wife, I think. And there was like, which side did you take and who did you believe? And this is a human thing, that we feel that we have to herd into a camp of one or the other. But what about being there for yourself and for both, rather than finding the way to choose a camp, to be what I would call the peacemaker? And in my family, I was always known as the peacemaker, the one that would, if there was two camps or there was an argument or something, that I would want to find common ground to make it all okay, and look at both sides and find a camp of the least resistance and bringing both together, because, you know, both parties are having a difficult time, and both parties are struggling with something that's different, and that's coming into the way that they're responding. And it's not easy to be the peacemaker, but I would say that rather than choosing a side and creating more animosity, that I would take the view of being the peacemaker for both. And it's the peacemaker for the situation rather than the peacemaker for the person. Because when we get into sides, we get into the humanness of it all. But when we get into being the peacemaker for the situation, we start to become a bit more logical, a bit more practical, and less personal, and less judgmental. And we become more compassionate, and we become more patient, to be open for there to become a place of inner peace for both parties and for the situation. So if there is that kind of divide, I feel that finding a place of solving the conflict of the situation is a good way to handle the fact that people take sides, because taking sides only creates more divide. There is a cliche, divide and you will conquer. This is the strategy for war, to create divide. But what I would say is when you become the peacemaker, then there is opportunity for everyone to win.
It's so beautiful the way you summed that all up. That's fantastic. I think it also comes down to finding a solution. And then also, I love this thought, knowing when to leave. So maybe you set a boundary, you're going to go to an event and you know that so-and-so is going to be there and they might want to push your button. So you specifically don't sit next to the person, you avoid having conversation as much as possible, and you stay from the very beginning with the host or hostess. I'll be staying for about 2 hours tonight. I have another party to go to, whatever the case is. And then you can literally get out of there without any confrontation. And yet there will be people who specifically are going to cause confrontation because that's what they like to do. They like to stir the pot. And I think all of us know of someone who is a pot stirrer, for example. What's a good way to deal with people that like to stir the pot?
Oh, you really are asking some critical questions here. There are people that thrive on chaos, that thrive on you being offended, upset, or they're counting on you being offended because they get some energy from it. And I'm going to bring in that this kind of person, depending on how much they are engaging in this kind of activity and this kind of behavior, is showing up as it's a narcissistic trait or a passive aggressive if they're quite calm about it. So it is important to have an understanding that that's what they do. And it's up to you if you want to get into that game. And if you don't want to get into the game, don't play it. Don't play into the game. And if you offer them silence or a smile, I actually feel that you can kill someone with kindness because they're expecting you to react and respond very negatively. And if you just stop responding and reacting negatively, draw a blank in terms of silence. Silence is the best thing to do. If there is a difficult situation where it keeps escalating, is to energetically and physically become silent in that situation, because it doesn't solve when you go into the tennis match. So to go into a place of silence and work out what it is in you that's reacting. Because if you're reacting and responding and feeling angry or upset, that is yours to handle. And so whatever it is that's coming up for you, to handle that. You don't need to handle the other person's aggression. You just, because they will have their own responses as to where that aggression or anger or sadness is coming from. It's about you handling yours. And when you handle what's coming up for you in terms of your reactions, that allows, in consciousness, what it does is, I'm going to be a bit woo here. In consciousness, it clears space. So when you clear your own stuff, it allows the other person and gives them a level of permission to clear theirs. So there might be sounding off at someone else that has not got that clarity and clearing of their consciousness in terms of what's happening. So they might be really angry with you and upset with you and really, really pushing it at you. And it's your response, and it's down to you as to how you want to handle it. Because if you are reacting and responding to that anger or that sadness or that frustration, it's about something that you have unresolved within. And if there is something unresolved, for you to work on that, and then that will clear the waters and make it calmer for the other person with you. That won't solve their stuff because they might just be aggressive with someone else. As long as it's not you, it doesn't matter. But, sort of, we are all human and we're all here to have a human experience, and the emotions, we're here to experience and express emotions, and sometimes they're very difficult. And it's not that you shouldn't be angry or frustrated or sad. That's not what I'm saying. And it's really important to express when you are feeling something. So if you're feeling upset, to cry, and you'll be surprised how long or how little time you'll be crying at the point that you allow that expression to come out. And you don't need to do it at someone or to someone. You can do that in terms of your own counsel, to cry. And then you will find it will clear, so that upset, that emotion can clear, and you will feel different. And the last thing I want to share on this topic is that especially in our Britishness, and it's really important to say that, I'm from the UK, and we do have this phrase that I don't know where it came from: keep calm and carry on. So if something happens that's difficult, you just have to keep calm and carry on. But that expression, that cliche, is not giving into emotion, which is really bad. It's bad for you, bad for the other person, and bad for your future experiences of life. So to feel safe to express, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be at someone or with someone. It can be in your own counsel, and it's okay to feel angry, frustrated, or sad. Allow those emotions, because you will feel better for allowing those emotions.
Outstanding as always, Caroline. Thank you so much. You've provided so much wisdom and guidance and great ideas for people who are out there watching or listening. We want you to have the happiest of holidays and have a plan as to how you can avert a crisis or prevent yourself from being part of the crisis. Look for peacemaking skills, look for a solution, and also start with yourself. That's what I'm really learning a lot. Look inside, find out what's coming up for you when you think about going to an event or seeing certain people or getting together. What is coming up for you, and how can you address it before you actually interact with other people and spread your ill will or your self-loathing or your negativity or sadness, whatever it is, to other people. So Caroline, thank you for being here for the Listening Mentor. This is our new time and dates. We are here now on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, which is 4 p.m. UK, every other Thursday. And then you'll be doing your Talking Heads episodes on the alternate Thursdays.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. And I do want to express to our viewers, whether you're on the live or the replay, there is no script here. I have no idea what Dr. JACALYN is going to ask me. We seem to just work together. This show, I love this show, and I've missed being on this show for the last couple of months because it is a good way to, the chemistry is just so perfect. And I don't know what she's going to ask me. I've got no rehearsed answers. It's just completely off the cuff. And luckily I haven't dried up yet the time that we've been doing this show. So it's always a pleasure to do the Listening Mentor. I love this show because you really have got two people, unscripted, and you've got what comes up, and we do cover lots of interesting ground. So thank you, Dr. JACALYN. I'm very pleased to be back again on this show and looking forward to moving forward into 2025 with you on the Listening Mentor.
Thank you, Caroline. I love this show also because I'm very passionate about each and every one of us finding inner peace. And I believe that starts with setting boundaries, asking permission, and learning how to give the gift of listening. If that's something I would wish for everybody, is give someone your undivided attention. Give them that gift of knowing that you're there for them, that you're not judging them, you're not offering solutions, you're not interrupting them, you're not trying to outdo them. You're just there to give them that gift of fully being present. So happy holidays, everyone. Look forward to seeing you again on our next episode. And Caroline, what's a great way for people to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. You can reach out to me on nomorestress@live.co.uk or call me on +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. Please follow me on LinkedIn and Facebook, where I broadcast all the shows live that I'm on with USA Global TV and Radio, and you'll be able to find all the shows here. And also, if you go to USA Global TV and Radio and put in my name, Caroline Heward, and you'll find all the shows that I've done. And there is many over the last 3.5 years. The person that I would like to help is somebody that's feeling stressed, anxious, or depressed. Please reach out to me, because I can help you bust your stress. Also, as I mentioned earlier on, I'm here to help the bigger organizations in terms of your lunchtime to help your teams have a greater understanding of how stress affects you, so that you can have higher productivity in your workplaces and alleviate stress, sickness, and absenteeism in your corporate environments. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a wonderful, happy holiday, and I look forward to seeing you next in 2025. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, Carolyn. Bye-bye for now. Look forward to chatting with you soon. Take care. All right, we have one additional announcement. We have a new show. It's called Creating a World of Possibilities. This is a show that I actually will be hosting. I came up with this concept, and it's really to help people who are humanitarians, people who are doing wonderful things to help bring happiness, positivity, compassion, empathy to the world. So I'll be hosting it twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. You don't need to set an appointment with me. Just go to our website, usaglobaltv.com/book your session, and book in if you would like to share how you are making a positive impact in this world to encourage others to do the same thing. All right, thank you so much. We are signing off for now. Our next show is coming up. It's the Corner Bookstore with Mr. Red O'Loughlin. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Take care, everyone. Bye.